Good morning everyone. Today I am here at Newport Railway Workshops here in Melbourne, and today is a special day as we are going to Castlemaine, and not just for any old tour. Today is the 40th anniversary of the locomotive behind me, which is R761's return to service in preservation. So in this video we're going to go through a little bit of history on the locomotive. We're going to chase it all the way to Castlemaine, have an afternoon in Castlemaine and ride it all the way back. And as you can probably tell, I am very keen for today. So without further ado, let's get into it.
So after World War II, there was a need to replace the A2 locomotives on mainline passenger routes. So in 1944, the Victorian Railways placed an order with the North British Locomotive Company in Glasgow, Scotland for 70 new 464 locomotives. The first of the Rs arrived in Victoria in May 1951, with R761 entering service on the 9th of April 1952. The Rs arrived at the same time as the first mainline diesels, and was soon relegated to freight and secondary passenger operations. So then, after 1964, after having travelled over 219,000 miles and spending periods in storage and occasional service, R761 underwent an overhaul in 1970 and was used for special trains. Its final run with Victorian Railways was on September 5th, 1974, pulling the vintage train from Melbourne to Bacchus Marsh before retirement, marking the end of 120 years of mainline steam operations in Victoria. After retirement, R761 was stored at Newport Workshops, and plans to restore it for tours were discussed by the Steam Preservation Coordinating Committee in 1975. But it wasn't until 1980, under the new name Steamrail, that the restoration work began at the Bayswater Depot. It was then moved to Newport in the same year, with work continuing until 1984, where R761 made its first moves under preservation. Shortly after, it ran a trial and then began hauling passengers on December 19, 1984, on a Steamrail members train to Woodend. Following a paint job at Vicrail Bendigo, R761 officially returned to service on the 30th of March 1985, pulling a special from Melbourne to Geelong, and since then has been a rail fan favourite, operating many tours both here in Victoria and interstate. Early in 2024, a few days before the open day, to mark its 40 years since its restoration by Steamrail, R761 was fully repainted in shiny black and red for the Newport Railway Workshops open day, reminiscent of its 1985 appearance.
Right, so I've left Newport and we are now just on the way, between Newport and Southern Cross, where the R is now going to come tender first through here. It's going to run into Southern Cross, run around and then head out to Castlemaine. We have heard a whistle, so it couldn't be too far away. We're hoping we don't get blocked by a spark, and then we'll head off down the road. All right, so that's the first shot of it done. So it's run tender first to Spencer Street Station, Southern Cross Railway Station, where it's going to run around. So we've got about 45 minutes. So we're going to jump back in the car. We're going to go up the line, probably somewhere near Albion. The reason for that is because the train actually has to stop at Water Gardens, which is still inside the Melbourne suburban network. But there is a velocity that leaves behind it. I think it's going to Bendigo. So we'll be able to get a shot there and then hopefully get back in front of it on the way up to Castlemaine. Unfortunately, it's not the easiest line to chase on, but we will make do with what we've got. So, without further ado, let's let the chase begin.
So once at Albion, we managed to catch the Apex Quarry train and some HCMT testings, as well as a Melbourne-bound Albury Pass, which was soon crossed by the train. The chase from Albion was quick. We then managed to catch it here at Sunbury, Then at Wood End, where R761 had run a test train during its restoration and test phase. Then at Elphinstone, where it did have to wait for a Melbourne-bound Velocity service.
So there we go, that's the chase all done and dusted. So we're now here in Castlemaine and I'm here in the Victorian Goldfields Railways compound. So they have a turntable here where the R is going to come on in, they're going to turn it, water it, maybe coal it, I think it's mainly water, and then we'll head back to Melbourne. But while we're here, this is of course the home to the Victorian Goldfields Railway, which is a branch line who have well, they've got a few different heritage locomotives, be it diesel, and of course they've got a steam engine. They've got a J-class, an oil-burning J-class. So hopefully we get to see that as well, as I've not actually seen it yet since it's repaint. So that would mean there's hopefully two 1950s vintage steam locomotives here, both in pristine condition. So, as always, we are very lucky here in the state of Victoria to have these kind of organisations and these kind of tourist railways here for us to come and visit and ride and volunteer at when you can and things like that. Anyway, it's been a fantastic morning coming up here. It's been a great drive. So now we're going to get into, turn the loco, might go get something to eat if we find time, and then we're going to jump aboard the train, have a little look through it and head back to Melbourne. Actually, on that, while we're here, the train came up here at about 155 metres. They're actually going to take one of the carriages off and swap it out with two more, which are going to come back to Melbourne. From what I've been told, they're going to get a bit of a restoration job, and they also have higher capacity seating, so it'll be very handy on things like the shuttle tours and those kind of bits and pieces. Anyway, that's all for the trip on the way back. So we'll just mosey around here, have a quick squiz, wait for this R-Class to come on in and get turned.
Once in the yard, the R was tended to by the crews, who pushed the coal down and made sure everything was well lubricated for its return journey. As well as that, the CFA helped with re-watering the locomotive with one of their pump trucks. Once the R had been spun and serviced, it was joined for a brief photo opportunity with the Victorian Goldfields Railways locomotive J549. It was then off to the railway hotel for a refreshing beverage and then back aboard the train. But not before a quick photo with some of the past and present members of Steamrail, who helped restore R761 40 years ago and those who maintain it now.
1, 2, 3, Steamrail!
And with that, the return to Melbourne, and always a fantastic way to spend an afternoon.
Well, there we go. I hope you've all enjoyed coming along today to celebrate the 40th anniversary of R761 returning to the main line in preservation. And it is such a fantastic thing that we get to have this kind of thing here in the great state of Victoria. And I hope you all have enjoyed coming along with me today, and I hope it inspires you to take a trip or maybe joining a preservation organisation. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget you can subscribe so you can keep up to date with all the videos that I have coming out pretty frequently. And I'll leave you with a shot of the train leaving the station here. And yeah, once again, thank you all so much for coming along. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you again soon. Hooroo!